going?
It's going.
How's it
Who's
going?
this?
How's it going at the 914?
It's going good. How are you, Steve?
It's going good. I want to hear about these relationships. I've been hearing some crazy stuff tonight. I feel like you guys went through a lot more than I have in my life.
Yeah, man. I don't know. We're just talking about a couple of different situations, like loving some, a couple things we talked about. We talked about, like, if how would you feel if you're in a committed relationship and
that's
person...
actually what I'm calling about. I'm actually interested in, like, your compadre. I'm like, his situation seems really, like, I mean, that seems pretty intense. I just wonder how do you weigh that, man? How do you just let that all occur and then have such a level head about it? It just seems really, I mean, I don't know how many relationships end up that way, I guess. It just big stuff.
It took practice, man. Like, it took learning and focus. Like, I didn't always deal with it the best way. There were times where I freaked out and, just sobbed and cried and lost my job and got back up and got back my job and like, I've struggled and went through it, and the learning process of all this. And, when you reach those levels and those events happen to you, and you don't have a choice but to have to understand them because you got shit to do, like, you just get to a point where you just understand it, and that those things don't, like, they don't, there's I find these little things that make sense to me that allow me to understand them. Like, when you don't have, like, you don't see Teslas driving anywhere, whatever, or something, and then all of a sudden you buy a Tesla, or you look into Tesla, like you look at the car, then all of a sudden you start seeing Teslas everywhere. You're like, holy shit, there's a bunch of fucking Teslas on the road. But, a couple of weeks prior to that, you didn't see any. It's because you weren't focusing on, there was no notice. You didn't care to look for Teslas because it wasn't something that was on your mind. So when situations like that happen, and these things happen to you, you were never looking for the answer for that thing. Now, when that stuff happens and it occurs, now you start looking for answers. You start seeing the answers in things, in people, in words, in movies, and books, and songs, and you notice it now. Like, okay, so this is how I fix this, or this is, like, what feels good, or this is how I understand it. But if it never happened, you wouldn't have known that it was even there in the first place.
Can I just ask, like, what told you in your mind, your body, your feelings, whatever, that made you feel like she was worth that after knowing, what you found out? Like, I'm basically going back. I've skipped the last 30 minutes. I couldn't get it on the app, so that's why I called. But you were talking about, like, how there was, like, a video or something. How would you get past that? Like, to me, I feel like I would hold a grudge. I don't know how you. It's odd to hear that, and then hear you say that you still loved her. It's just that's. I guess that was the point of what I was trying to make. Like, it's kind of interesting that you'd go through all that and still have that kind of bond with her. So.
Well, like I said, I struggled with it, and like I said, I watched that video over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
How could you not?
Just because I was obsessed with the fact that I was like, I can't let this hurt me. This is not going to hurt me, and then, and eventually it didn't. And eventually, like, I can talk about it, I can bring it up, like, and it doesn't hurt me to have the conversation about it, and it doesn't change the way, why, if that's all it took, if it was just a video of her getting fucked and that was the thing that it took, and be like, I guess I don't love you. I mean, then I didn't love her at all anyway. I was just fucking bullshitting, and that was my reason. Like, oh, okay, here's a video. Yep, this is enough. I don't love her. Like, it wasn't like, okay, this is seriously fucked up. It's a shitty situation. Nobody should have to watch this kind of shit. Nobody should have to even be presented with this to somebody they loved and cared about. Like, all of that is still there, but there is still a thing of, like, in genuine, when you're searching within your heart, does this make me not love her? Is this enough? Like, is this the thing that should I be? And when you find that answer, like, no, it doesn't. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't want to pay her back. I don't want to revenge. I don't feel like, I don't feel sadness about it. There's not, like, okay, it happened.
I think I missed a little bit. Was it infidelity, or did she just, she just hooked up with another guy before you, and that guy being mean decided he would forward it out to everybody, And I missed that. I apologize. I'm not trying to make you.
Yeah, it was after. So she wasn't with me when that happened. It was, like I said, I don't exactly remember if it was days or weeks or, I know it wasn't like a super long time. It wasn't like months.
Yeah.
But
I guess it'd be hard to watch a recorded version of your woman being intimate with somebody else. Is why I kind of was like, man, that's I don't know how many people come out the other side of that, especially couples in general.
One thing is my dick was bigger, is that was always the thing I was like,
That's good. Fair enough. All right, I mean, that's all nothing real specific. I just heard your story, and I was like, I think you're better than most. I think most people would see something like that, and that would be like the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess.
Yeah. Shit happens. It's just sex. It's a dick and a vagina, and people fuck, and shit happens. Like, love is more important than sex.
But normally, isn't that a precursor to love? Normally, like you have intimate, you get with somebody, you kind of have intercourse with them a few times, and you develop like a bond. Like, I mean, do you really? I mean, I don't know about you, but how many times have you been with somebody and found out that wasn't good, and then after that you kind of lost some feelings toward them? I mean, that happens all the time. It's odd that you would, not odd. It's different that you'd be willing to, segregate the two things and say that's okay. She had sex with somebody else. I'm okay with that, but I don't want to think about, dicks inside my girl. Like, that's not something I would.
Right, no, I don't want to think about it. I don't ever want it to happen again. I don't ever want to think about it again. Like, I wouldn't want it to keep happening, no. But like I said, if sex is the only thing that created that deep, real bond, and it's just because we've had intercourse with each other, then that's not real enough for me. Like, I've had sex with one-night stands and,
Could you love someone if you found out intercourse wasn't good?
So, I mean, that would be something that you had to deal with. I guess, if the intercourse wasn't good, I mean, I guess you would have to start talking like, hey, I mean, is it an insecurity about that? Like, hey, look, I'm not, like, enjoying this sex at all. Like, you got to do something different. And then that other person's like, what? I thought sex was awesome. What do you mean? What did I got to do different? Like, you just have to have that talk about it until you can find. And that's that other part. That's that piece that, look, I love you enough, like, to tell you you're fucking up. Like, this sex is awful. Let's get some toys. Let's get some.
You're a bigger man than most. That's a hard conversation to have, man. Like, hey, yeah, we've been doing this missionary thing for a while, but I'm expecting this to be a little more than, that's, especially if you actually do care for her, you're really going to be able to. I think maybe you've just had more partners, and maybe that's a comfortable conversation. I think that's a tough conversation to have.
Maybe we need to try this Kermit the Frog flap slap.
What the fuck is that?
Look it up.
I mean, and that's okay. Like I said, that's important.
I think you guys bring. I mean, here's kind of going off topic here a little bit, but I think you bring up a good point, though, is that, I mean, but to what extreme do you take that? So, I mean, yes, in this situation, you guys were not dating at the time, but I mean, if you're saying it's just sex, and you'd still love the person, right? So hypothetically speaking, if somebody was dating, and it doesn't even have to be you, but if somebody has that same mindset, and the person that they're dating or married to or whatever decides one night, and it may be a mistake, it may be whatever, but decides to have sex with somebody else while you're with that person still, I mean, why would you then, I mean, would you end a relationship at that point? I mean, it's just a dick and a vagina. It's not love. But you could still love that person, right?
Yeah, but you have a trust factor that if they're violating that, are you really going to keep with them? Because honestly, if I think my girl's out here getting dick on the side, to me, I'm going to think about just the fact that I don't want to pick up their STD, and to me, like, I'm not in a relationship then. If you're fucking some other guy, like, then we're not in a relationship. That's just, I don't even care if you're fucking another girl. Like, we're not in a relationship. We're not monogamous. You're clearly saying that you want an open relationship. At that point, I'd probably open up my side of the relationship too.
No, I'm with you. I'm completely with you on that. What I'm saying is I'm kind of just being devil's advocate, is that if we apply it to that situation, we apply it across the board, you know, I mean, say somebody was weak and just was weak in the moment, or somebody just wanted to just have another dick inside of him, you know, inside of her for one night, you know. But it didn't really change the way that they felt about, you know, they still loved the person or whatever. That's just what they went and did just one time, and they were completely honest about it. How would you feel about that, Dave?
Okay. That's the thing, like I said, you have to find that shit out within yourself. If it's something that you can't deal with and you need to take a break from it for a moment, like, hey, look, that's some heavy shit. I love you a lot. Our trust is violated. You know, I'm glad that you told me. I'm glad that you respect me enough to even bring that to me, and you're not afraid to tell me. But look, I'm going to need a minute to sort of deal with what that is. And you have to understand that may even lead to more sex with somebody else, like if it doesn't happen, or if you're like, you know what, thank you for telling me, this sucks. I'm going to be a little shitty for a few weeks, and you know, like I don't know how to do this. I guess it just happens from now. Like if you're legit and you fucked up and you're sorry, like let's get past it. Let's do something else now. Like what do we do to fix it then? Like if that's the thing, and that goes into more questions about being honest. Like what was it? Did I, you know, and you guys can get into some real conversation about it. Like, you know, hey, I just, you know what, I don't know what it was. You know, like I feel bad about it, or maybe they don't feel bad. Like you have to be able to tell the truth, man. Like no matter what. If it was like a thing
what if the girl came to you, she came to you and she said, you know what, I love you, we've been together for such and such time, a couple of months, but I kind of want to try something else just for once, just to see what it was like, you know, before we get married, before we commit any further, before I move in, whatever. Would you be okay with that if I just, like, try something else for one night? It doesn't have to mean anything. I just want to try something else outside of our relationship. So I'm just checking with you to see how you feel about it. You just threw it out there like that. Would you be okay with it?
So now, here's what I would say. I would go, are you okay with me doing it? Like, if you're going to go doing that, am I also allowed to sort of experiment and see if there is something else from anywhere? You know, like, does that make, you know, is that okay? Like, so then you guys both have to know. Like, what if she goes, oh, wait a minute, no, that's not okay? And then you're like, okay.
What if she says it's okay, except for you just can't, like, go with her, that person. You're going to come back to me. You're just going to go do it. You're just not going to, you know, follow through with anything else. Just one night stand. I'll even hire you a hooker. How about that?
So yeah, if you guys determine that stuff, I looked a lot into like dominant and subordinate relationship, BDSM and things like that. Now you set up whole contracts. There's like real 10-page contracts where you go over every sexual desire that you have, everything, and you go over like what you guys are responsible for. Like if the man is responsible financially, if the man is responsible for her emotional health, if the man is responsible for things like that, then it is your contractual duty to be responsible for those feelings, and that and it's not binding. You can change those. Say that contract works for 3 or 4 weeks, and now you're like, you want to go, and it's about being open and honest about it. Like, hey, I don't want to have this weekly trial thing where we try somebody else anymore. And you guys negotiate that, and you're like, okay, scratch that out. Let's, okay, that's gone from the equation now. Okay, you know what I mean? Or like, there's just, you can get to all different kinds of levels of comfort and acceptance and different things that you want to do with each other, but it has to be mutual, just in the same way that, somebody has to love themselves and all that other stuff. You can't you guys have to find that balance and that ground where she's like, are you okay with this? Like, you really don't care? Like, and she said stuff. She's like, I cannot believe you just forgive me. She's like, you just love me and nothing, like, she's like, she's like, you're crazy. You're crazy for, like, just not doing that. Like, why doesn't it, I just don't understand why you forgive me. And it's like, because I don't feel like there's anything to forgive. Like, I don't need you to be guilty and upset and doubt. Like, you're already here. Like, you're here. What am I, you're not with that other person. You're here with me right now. This is where you want to be.